If you've watched my videos before, you've heard me say time and again that about 80 people are moving to the Triangle region of North Carolina, including Raleigh and Durham, every single day. But where are they coming from? Well, let's check out the top states that are feeding into North Carolina. My name is Matt Martin, and I'm a Raleigh-based realtor. I've helped tons of clients relocate to the Triangle region, many from the states that we're going to discuss today. And if you're looking to do the same, I'd love to help you too. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe right down below. So according to United Van Line's annual survey of inbound and outbound moves, North Carolina was the 6th most moved to state in 2023. And we've pretty consistently held that spot over the past few years. In fact, based on 2022 census data, about 341,000 people moved to North Carolina from a different state. And the top 3 reasons for people moving into the state, well, number 1 was family, which comes as no surprise to me, as I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with where it starts with one family member moving here, and then soon after, other family members follow suit. It's usually the parents following the kids, but I've seen it both ways. The number 2 reason was for a job, which makes sense given our booming economy and tech scene here. And the number 3 reason was retirement, which we'll discuss in a bit. So with all that in mind, let's jump into the top states everyone is moving here from. Let's do a top 5, starting with number 5 and working our way up to number 1. And all this information comes from the US Census from 2022. Starting at number 5, we have California, which saw about 23,000 of its residents move to North Carolina in 2022, or about 7% of our total out-of-state population growth. This isn't much of a surprise given that California was the number 6 state on United Van Line's list for outbound movement. While the bulk of immigrants from California reported that they were moving out because of family or a job, cost also played a factor. As a native Californian myself, I'm always surprised anytime I go home at the cost of everything from real estate to coffee. And while the weather is beautiful, I think many Californians can find a lot of what they love about home when they move here to North Carolina. We still have the beaches on our East Coast, just 2 hours away from Raleigh, and we have the beautiful mountains to our west, just a 3-hour drive from Raleigh. Yes, many Californians will be surprised by the humidity here, but the pros far outweigh that con. Moving on to number 4, we have New York, which saw about 25,000 of its residents move to North Carolina in 2022, or just over 7% of our total out-of-state population growth. This was also the number 4 state on the United Van Line's list for outbound movement. One of the biggest reasons people moved out of the state was not actually because of cost, as one might expect, but rather to be closer to family and because of retirement. That latter one is super common here, mainly because of our more mild weather and our incredible healthcare system. The Raleigh-Durham area is home to 3 major healthcare systems: Duke, WakeMed, and UNC, giving all residents, young and old alike, access to some of the best healthcare in the country. And yes, about 5% of people said they were leaving New York because of cost, but about 15% of those who left said they did so for a lifestyle change. This one hits close to home since it's the reason we left New York City for Raleigh, so I can definitely sympathize with this. In fact, my first video I made was all about NYC versus Raleigh, which you can check out here. So a lifestyle change can be interpreted as many different things, but for us specifically, it was finding a home with more moderate weather away from the hustle and bustle of the city. The 6 months of winter in New York City was just too much for us to handle anymore, especially when compounded with the high cost of living and confined space. So I'm not surprised to see New York showing up in the top 5 list. Next up, we have our neighboring states to the north and south. South Carolina came in at number 3 with 28,000 transplants to North Carolina, and Virginia came in at number 2 with nearly 34,000 residents moving south across the border. Together, they made up about 18% of the total inbound population to North Carolina in 2022. This is an interesting one to me, especially since South Carolina actually bested us in terms of overall inbound growth, coming in at number 3 on United Van Line's survey. Both states had a high percentage of people leaving because of job relocations, indicating that people likely moved to North Carolina for better employment opportunities. But both also had a very high percentage of people leaving because of family. As I mentioned before, one of the biggest reasons we hear for people moving to North Carolina is to be closer to family, be it family that's originally from here or to follow family that has recently moved to the area and is loving the lifestyle. And since Virginia and South Carolina share many similarities to us here in North Carolina, it's an easy move for many if they're looking to be closer to recently relocated family. In fact, North Carolina was the top pick for immigrants from both of these states. And finally, showing up in the top spot on the list is Florida, which saw nearly 35,000 residents move to North Carolina in 2022, accounting for just over 10% of our total out-of-state influx. I wasn't surprised in the slightest. In fact, we've seen a crazy number of what we refer to as halfbackers relocating to North Carolina in recent years. Those are Northerners who moved down to Florida either for the warmer weather or retirement, only to realize they missed the seasons or didn't align with the politics and decided to move halfway back, bringing them to North Carolina. My in-laws are about to make that exact move soon. After nearly 5 years in Florida, they can't wait to break out their sweaters again, and home prices have just gotten way too out of control in Florida. I'm actually going to make a whole separate video on that topic soon, so be on the lookout for it. But I expect we'll continue to see Florida atop this list in the coming years as prices skyrocket there. Speaking of states I expect to see creep up on the list, I want to highlight Texas really quickly. While it came in at the number 7 spot, this was again based on 2022 migration data. However, as I mentioned in my Texas versus Raleigh video here, in the last year, I've seen a huge influx of Texas license plates all around town. In fact, I recently had a viewer from Austin call me telling me that after 10 years there, they were tired of the hot summers, had their home under contract, and were getting ready to move to Raleigh. So while Texas is still experiencing a boom in growth, I expect to see it start to creep up the list of states with the most migration to North Carolina. So those are the top 5 states from which newfound North Carolinians have moved. Are there any that surprised you or others that you expected to make the list that didn't? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're interested in coming to see what makes North Carolina one of the hottest inbound states in the country, I'd love to connect. You can find all my information to call, text, or email right down below.